We've got more disappointing news, I'm afraid, from the SRA in relation to SQE pass rates. For more details, stay tuned, but only after the jingle.
If you wanna be solicitors, why don't you come and visit us at SQETV?
Now, if you're a diligent prospective SQE candidate looking to invest in an SQE preparation course which gives you the best chance of passing the exams, you'll want to know how the students at each institution on your training provider shortlist have performed historically. Indeed, the SRA have said when we launched the SQE, we committed to publishing pass rate data by provider. So now that we're over 4 years into the SQE regime, how have the SRA performed in relation to delivering on this commitment? Now, you'd be excused if you missed it, but buried among a number of news items and announcements which the SRA published just before the 2025 Christmas break was their admission that unfortunately they had failed again to honour this commitment to publish SQE pass rates relating to SQE training providers and their courses. And to contextualise this further, as well as promising from the outset to publish provider attributed data, the SRA made specific commitments to do so by the end of each of 2023, 2024 and 2025, yet they failed to publish any such data on each occasion. In the SRA's own words from their December 2025 announcement, a link for which you'll be able to see in the blurb below this video, to date we have not had confidence in the quality of the data collected. Therefore, publishing this data would risk misleading candidates. It's worth reading that again. To date, we've not had confidence in the quality of the data collected, therefore publishing this data would risk misleading candidates. We're now in the 5th year of the SQE regime and the regulator still hasn't implemented a sound process to collect and verify data which attributes candidates to their primary training provider. It's astonishing, isn't it? Now, I have it on good authority that a number of SQE training providers on multiple occasions have invited the SRA to work with them to improve the process of how the regulator attributes candidates to their training providers. Yet astonishingly, in the first 4 years of the SQE, the SRA has consistently failed to include training provider verification in that process, which you would have thought would be a given if the SRA, using their own words, want to improve the quality of our data. So sadly, it comes as no surprise when the SRA now admit that they have no confidence in the quality of the data that they've collected.
SQETV.
Just before we continue with this video, this is just a quick request for you to please like this video and subscribe to SQETV. Do it right now, please, because it'll help us improve our ranking on the YouTube algorithm so that we can get to as many SQE candidates as possible. That is our mission. It's a free channel, and in the spirit of community, I'm sure that's something that you would agree with as well. Anyway, I'm not going to delay you any further. You know what to do, and tap that notification bell, of course. In that way, you'll make sure you get to see our videos as soon as they drop. Now, back to the video.
SQETV.
Now, it's really interesting to see the public statements that have been made on the subject, including those made at the Legal Cheek Education Conference in May 2025 that I attended, which was also attended by representatives from the SRA and their regulator, the LSB. And at that conference, the LSB's representative, they repeated the essence of the LSB's previous public statement that was published on their website. And I quote, "The SRA has failed to publish provider pass rate data for the SQE. This is despite previous commitments to do so. This leaves people who want to be solicitors without crucial information to make informed choices about training providers. The LSB expects this information to be made available by autumn 2025 at the latest." And we all know what happened then. Now, in reply, the SRA's representative at that conference made all the right noises to confirm that, of course, they'd meet the deadline, echoing all sorts of similar commitments made by the SRA on their website. But to be honest, many of us in the audience weren't holding our breath given the SRA's previous track record, and for good reason, as it turns out. And I really think it's now incumbent on the LSB to hold the SRA to account for this repeated failure so that the same mistakes are not repeated again in 2026. So what steps are the SRA now taking? Well, their statement in late December 2025 was very light on detail. In fact, the only substantive step we're aware of as we start 2026 is that they are, and these are their own words, changing the point at which candidates tell us the training provider, if any, with which they have studied. Instead of asking candidates when they first create an account, we will ask them before they receive their results. By this time, they will know for certain how they prepared for the assessment. So it truly beggars belief that it took 4 years for the SRA to work this out, particularly given that a number of SQE training providers have been suggesting that they took such action for many years. But simply changing the timing of the data collection alone isn't going to be a silver bullet that will completely fix everything for this issue. There still needs to be provider verification of the data in order for the SQE training market to have confidence in the data which the SRA eventually publishes. And as part of any robust verification process, the SRA is going to need to work proactively with training providers to devise a process by which the results of all SQE candidates can be routinely shared with the relevant provider. Because, astonishingly, 4 years into the regime, and for reasons never really convincingly articulated by the regulator, the SRA is still reluctant to share all individual candidates' results with their training providers. Now, in my personal view, and it is very much my own personal view, this lack of transparency is as unreasonable as it is illogical, and it goes against the very interests of every SQE candidate. Why? Well, a training provider who knows who's passing and who's failing in the granular detail that the SRA is able to report on can make adjustments to the design and the delivery of their courses, and that would then enhance the student experience and no doubt increase their pass rates. Sadly, whilst this seems obvious to pretty much every stakeholder I've ever spoken to, the point appears to be lost on the SRA. But if all the SRA do is just to move the data collection point, I predict that by the end of 2026, one of two outcomes will turn out to be the case. Either the SRA will publish unreliable data, which is largely discredited by a significant proportion of training providers, which of course will serve nobody, or it'll be Groundhog Day again and nothing gets published at all. And if that happens, it won't just be the data where there's talk of no confidence. I truly hope I'm wrong and the SRA works collaboratively with training providers to share students' SQE results, and that will then enable each individual to be attributed to their provider in the relevant course. It's such an obvious solution, but sadly, I'm not going to be holding my breath.
If you wanna be solicitors, why don't you come and visit us at SQE